out. Let's listen to opera tenor Christopher Macchio singing "Oh America."
I can hear you calling me. You are calling me to be true to thee, true to thee. I will be. Oh, America, no weeping. Let there be no wounded heart. I will keep you in my keeping till there'll be a new start.
And we see the outgoing U.S. and vice presidents preceded by senior lawmakers from Capitol Hill entering the rotunda, including from Donna's senator, Cory Booker, who's right in
No, that's
front.
Hakeem
That's
Jeffries.
Hakeem Jeffries, excuse me. I thought it was Cory Booker.
Hakeem
Thank you for
Jeffries
the
was
correction.
the leader of the Democrats, the Democratic minority in the House.
Right.
And his traditional sneakers, he loves them.
From your mountains grand and all through this land, you are beautiful to me. Oh, America, you're calling. Oh, I can hear you calling me. You are calling me to be true to thee, true to thee. Oh, I will be.
And there the U.S. Vice President-elect making his entrance.
Will be as one.
And that was Christopher Macchio, opera tenor, singing "Oh America," really entering the service in earnest as we see more of the senior leadership of the two houses. Ketevan Gorgestani, I don't want to get it wrong. I know that that's Senator
Chuck Schumer
Charles Schumer of
and
New
Mike
York.
Johnson, who is the Speaker of the House and who is going to be a key partner for Donald Trump going ahead when it comes to passing that legislation that Donald Trump wants to pass. Because we're talking, of course, today and tomorrow a lot about executive orders, but not everything can be done by executive orders. And at some point, Donald Trump is going to need that House and that Republican majority. And as you were saying, it's a very slim majority. Officially, it's 220 in the House for the Republicans, but remember that Matt Gaetz is gone, so it's actually 219. And there are two representatives who are soon going to be leaving. Representative Mike Waltz, who is going to be the National Security Advisor, as well as Elise Stefanik, if she is confirmed as the next U.S. ambassador at the United Nations.
Donald Trump entering the room. And as we wait for the outgoing and the incoming U.S. president to be formally seated for this ceremony, we can cross back to Catherine Norris Trent. Catherine, again, it would have been, weather permitting, the possibility of hundreds of thousands attending this ceremony had it been outdoors. The arena behind you, well, it only seats what, some 20,000?
Right, exactly. So there's going to be a lot of people who we've been talking to this morning who won't get in. We're just outside the Capitol One building itself. Security is extremely tight, as you can imagine. People were queuing up. I mean, way more than 20,000, I think we saw this morning, going past us. So I don't know where they're all going to end up. Some of them are still in the queue. We've just gone past security ourselves of members of the press, but it's all been a bit chaotic, as you can imagine, because this last-minute change in bringing the inauguration from the outside to the inside. People had already got their flights, they'd already got their hotels, so they're just trying to work out where they can go. Well, as indeed are much of the world's media and, quite a few other people in town for this inauguration. So it's a little chaotic. The people I've been speaking to earlier said that if they didn't get a chance to get inside the arena, they were still here on this historic day, and so they weren't disappointed because they're pretty much on a high right now, these Trump supporters we've been seeing. This is something they've been hoping for ever since he was last in office. A lot of them feel he was unfairly treated. A lot of election deniers here, of course, people saying that they didn't believe Joe Biden fairly won the 2020 election, despite all the legal challenges, and despite that not being the case. They don't hear that. So people here coming here, and if they don't get to see him, they don't get to see him. But they're still been in town for the big day. And, people wrapped up warm, and they're just trying to be here and soak up the atmosphere, really.
Let's look at the last minutes of Joe Biden's presidency, standing next to Kamala Harris. Fabrice Rousselot, your thoughts on the two of them standing side by side?
That has to be difficult, I think, for the two of them. I think Joe Biden is an amazing politician. He might be the best politician America has ever seen over the past 50 years, but his legacy is going to be one that's not that amazing. People are going to remember the last few months in office, the fact that maybe he should have withdrawn from the campaign way earlier. And Kamala Harris, we know around her, people also were very critical of Joe Biden and in the last few months because they felt that he didn't withdraw, early enough. So there's this kind of a weird kind of chemical between the two of them. I remember when, last time when we saw the funeral of Jimmy Carter, Kamala Harris didn't say a word, was very, very stone-faced. So I think there is a lot of thinking and a lot of regrets behind the whole thing.
Ketevan Gorgistani, when you first arrived in Washington, J.D. Vance was still a journalist. Now at 40 years old, he's the Vice President of the United States.
Yes, and I believe, at least in modern history, the youngest ever Vice President, J.D. Vance, who is seen a little bit as sort of the next gen of the MAGA world, of the Trump world, someone who has sort of remade himself in the image of Donald Trump, and we'll see what sort of role he takes on, because there's also always this question about vice presidents in the United States, about how much spotlight they get, what sort of issues they focus on, and there was a lot of criticism of Kamala Harris not being visible enough. Joe Biden, in his time, at least at the beginning, wasn't necessarily known as a great VP, and then came into the office, and now I think we're going to see the introduction very soon of the U.S. president. And just a little word on the timing. This is John Thune, who is the Senate Majority Leader. So this is the leadership, the bipartisan leadership of the House and of the Senate coming in. The idea initially of the Trump inaugural team was to try and get him sworn in at 11:47 local time. It is now 11:40 there. I don't know if they're going to make it in time, but that was the idea, to sort of mark symbolically the fact that he is going to be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States.
Yeah, Olivier Burtin, we're seeing there front and center, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, part of that. She's a Democrat, part of the bipartisan committee that organizes inaugurations. And as was Catherine Norris-Trent was telling us earlier, on the fly, having to move everything indoors, that committee. Again, is it a singular moment in U.S. history, or have Americans been here before with these wide swings?
I think we've been here before. We've seen wider swings than what we're seeing right now in 2024. This is actually rather small. What strikes me is more the narrative around it and the way it's been described as being decisive. In a way that
never so much media attention. I mean, we see Donald Trump entering the Capitol Rotunda.
Yeah, and I think this is partly the way in which he's managed to dominate the narrative, is partly the fact that thanks to the Silicon Valley social media that's been so swinging to the right in recent months, in a way that I think has helped him greatly win the election.
A bon mot there, Donna, between the outgoing and the incoming president of the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I think to build off of what he just said, I think that what we see is there's a lot of narrative about Trump coming into office and being incredibly influential and passing an enormous amount of things. But I think it's really important to remember that the most influential piece of legislation, or the largest piece of legislation he passed back during his 2016 tenure, was the 2017 tax cuts. So I also think we need to look at whether his administration is actually going to be effective at being able to pass a lot of what they said they're going to pass. They haven't won the massive landslide that a lot of people think that he won in. And in the next few days, I know that there is an expectation for a flurry of executive orders. I don't know if we're going to see that followed by hard and fast legislation, because he was unsuccessful previously.
And to double down on that, he has raised the stakes for himself, because he's said that he's going to do all of this and very quickly. And if he doesn't, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be disappointed very quickly.
With Trump is what he says, what he does, and what the results of what he does. Because sometimes he doesn't get any result at all, and it just goes to something else.